Hello, I'm Elizabeth Creasy. It's 4 o'clock and these are our top stories in Perth this afternoon. The war rages on. America scrambles to recover a crashed plane while Iran continues its assault on world oil as its new leader speaks for the first time. Foreign fuel arrives in Fremantle as the consumer watchdog accuses petrol companies of pumping up prices. Urgent concerns for Perth's hospital system as operating theatres close and ED patients are left in the corridor. Brothers escape their burning home. Crews forced to return 4 times to battle the Manning blaze. And a royal couple behind the bar. Princess Kate pouring pints as she opens up about her cancer recovery. Good afternoon. A rescue operation is underway in western Iraq after 2 US jets collided with soldiers on board. Live to Jacqueline Robson in Tel Aviv. And Jackie, do we know the fate of those soldiers?
Not yet, Liz, and there are real fears there could be casualties from this crash. The US Central Command has only released one statement about the initial event, acknowledging that it happened not in hostile fire, but rather in friendly airspace. That's despite claims this morning from the Islamic Resistance of Iraq that it was the one that shot down this American refuelling jet. The US says it was a collision, or it's believed at least to be a collision, a second aircraft able to land safely back at base here in Israel. But that search and rescue operation continues today for up to 6 crew members. It's not known whether they are alive or dead. It is also unclear whether or not that downed aircraft has been found. Liz?
And Jackie, Iran is continuing to target the ships in the Strait of Hormuz.
Yes, this was one of the main points in the latest, or the first statement we've heard from the new Ayatollah Mojtaba Khamenei. A statement was read out on Iranian state TV. We didn't hear directly from him or see him. That's fueling speculation. He was badly hurt in this war. There are even suggestions he may have been in a coma, but the message was clear that the vital shipping lane, the Strait of Hormuz, will remain under an Iranian grip so long as the US and Israel continue this conflict. There's been repeated strikes on vessels near the important oil shipping canal. There's also oil facilities that have been coming under intense attacks both in Bahrain and Oman. The US Navy is now considering escorting vessels through that shipping canal to keep it open and operating. The Ayatollah also using his address to vow revenge for the death of his father, his wife, and the schoolgirls killed in that earlier strike in the war. He's also suggested that Gulf nations will continue to come under attack so long as they have US bases in their countries. On the other front of this war, in Beirut, the intense strikes have continued there. The death toll now around 700 as Israel tries to extinguish Hezbollah. Liz, the intensity of this war is only continuing.
Absolutely, Jackie, live in Tel Aviv, thank you. The consumer watchdog has issued a please explain to fuel companies with the latest data showing widely varying prices for diesel and petrol in the capital cities since the Iran war broke out. Here's Josh Martin with more from Canberra.
Good afternoon. Price increases at the petrol pump have increased by up to 18 cents per litre more than wholesale prices in some locations around Australia. On 20 February, the daily average retail petrol price in the country was $1.70 per litre. It's since shot up to $2.19 per litre on 11 March. That's an increase of 49 cents per litre. At the same time, wholesale prices went up by just 41 cents per litre. Motorists in Perth are now paying the most per litre, $2.22 on average. Hobart the cheapest at $2.15 a litre. Brisbane, Sydney and Melbourne are all at similar levels. The ACCC says it will meet with petrol companies next week to demand answers, including 7-Eleven, Ampol, BP, Chevron, Mobil, United, Viva and EG Australia. The Energy Minister has also called out Australians selling jerry cans online and filling up with more than their regular needs.
Bunnings running out of jerry cans, going off Facebook Marketplace, selling fuel at inflated prices. That is un-Australian. It's dangerous. It shouldn't be done. I want Australians to have access to the fuel they need, not more, not less.
Until yesterday, it was all tickety-boo, no problems. By yesterday, it was a national crisis. I mean, the blokes he's hopeless. Get the supplies to the farmers and regional customers.
Chris Bowen is relaxing rules for fuel companies to allow them to get more diesel and petrol to regional areas. The Albanese government is lowering the amount importers and refiners of fuel need to hold by 20%. It means there'll be an extra gradual release of an extra 762 million litres of fuel. And in a fresh concern for Australian airlines, there are reports this afternoon China is stopping exports of jet fuel.
Our hospital crisis is being exacerbated by extreme bed block even before winter has hit. In one shocking example, an 88-year-old great-grandmother was left in a corridor for 2 days. Francesca Danuccio has more.
Good afternoon. Well, it's here at Midland Hospital that 88-year-old Elsie Gribben spent 2 days being treated in the corridor after being taken to the emergency department by ambulance with leg complications. Her family is outraged. They say the health system failed them, claiming their mum was left with no call bell and no shower until they requested she be discharged.
She wasn't showered for 2 days. They gave her baby wipes to clean herself in a public thoroughfare corridor with no privacy. She said it was freezing cold.
They say she wasn't alone.
I think there was about 10, I believe, in the corridor that night that were under the same conditions.
The Morley great-grandmother had ultrasounds and x-rays done but is still waiting on a formal diagnosis.
I think it's appalling. It's a shocking reflection of the healthcare system.
The hospital says they apologise for Elsie's experience and claim patients are triaged and treated according to clinical urgency. Midland isn't the only hospital in the spotlight today. A leaked email from a medical director has revealed 2 operating theatres at Nedland's Sir Charles Gardner Hospital will close next month, essentially permanently, and that they're not aware of a plan to correct the shortage of operating rooms.
We're not dealing with a pandemic here. We're dealing with winter, and already our hospital system is not coping.
But while the hospital is saying one thing, the health department is saying another. It says 2 will be shut for just 2 weeks to replace the floor. We'll have more on this story in 7 News at 6.
Firefighters have had to return to a house in Manning 4 times after it caught alight. Spot fires kept crews busy after a blown-out candle sparked a raging inferno. Rachel Tassica reports.
Good afternoon. 2 brothers managed to escape the burning home after a fire ignited in the garage just before 6 o'clock last night. Neighbours first spotted smoke billowing from the roof. Janusha and his brother tried to douse the flames, but the fire spread in seconds.
He burst into my room telling me that a fire was in the garage. I didn't have any time to really react, so I instantly just went inside, grabbed a vase, just filled it up with water, chucked it onto the fire. Brother grabbed anything from the fridge.
Their parents returned home to find it fully engulfed.
Huge, ginormous. We could see them from down the road and the whole area was covered in smoke.
Firefighters raced to the scene but say the structure of the house made the firefight difficult.
We've got lighter weight in their construction, so they're not resistant to fire with new timber floors and not with concrete internal walls.
Manning Road was locked down for hours, with residents directing traffic along the busy stretch of road.
Residents got out and helped divert traffic across. Unfortunately, they had to go across like the median strip. A few people got bogged, but all of the community got in and helped them out, which was absolutely delightful to watch.
The cause is accidental. A blown-out candle was put in the bin, which then caught alight. This home took 4 years to build and was only completed 2 years ago. It's now gutted. Everything inside destroyed.
Everyone says oh, what are you grabbing when a house is burning down? But I just realised there's no time. I had to get myself out and my brother out, and then that's it. You don't have time for anything else, otherwise you're risking your life.
Firefighters have returned here 4 times to tackle hotspots in the roof. The family has lost everything, but is just grateful everyone escaped with their lives.
A Lansdale man accused of indecently assaulting a child at a popular Perth aquatic centre has said he will fight the charge. Police say Ahmed Abdullah followed a young girl into the toilets and attacked her at Bayswater Waves last month. The child is under 13 years old.
Mr Abdullah, what do you want to say to the victim's family? What happened in the toilet, Mr Abdullah?
The 29-year-old will officially enter a plea when he's back in court in July. Barich will find out if he's going to jail or not next month. The ex-AFL Hall of Famer has spent 3 days on trial. He's accused of sexually assaulting a 9-year-old orphan in the 1960s. The case closed today with the 82-year-old declaring his innocence. A judge will deliver the verdict in April. New data has revealed more single West Australian women are propelling themselves into the property market. One building company has seen a major jump in solo females signing up to build a new home. Brianna Inferreira reports.
Good afternoon. This 4x2 home here in Dudley Park is just one example of more single women cementing their place in WA's property market. The house is proudly owned by Shannon Ducey, the 31-year-old, making it her mission to build something of her own after she and her former partner separated a few years ago. He kept the house they had built together.
My parents separated around about the same time, and I watched my mum, who she'd always been a stay-at-home mum. She didn't have money of her own. She didn't have her own savings. She had nothing, and she had to start all over again. I didn't want that to happen to me. It was really important for me to be independent and establish myself. So I had committed to the goal of, I'm going to get my own place. I'm going to get my own house, and it's going to be my house, and nobody can ever take that away from me, no matter what happens.
She hasn't been alone in her goal to crack the market. Summit Homes, who built Shannon's property, has seen a whopping 30% jump from 2024 to 2025 in single women signing up to build a new home. A big jump on the year before, the same group growing by 8%.
So I guess we're seeing a combination of either single women or younger professional women, or women just looking to secure their financial stability in the long term.
Legal support services have welcomed the data, noting women are more likely to be locked out of home ownership than men.
They're much less likely to have accumulated the wealth and the income needed to purchase a home, because they're more likely to have spent time out of the workforce, caring for children, more likely to be in a single parent household, and also more likely to be paid less than men.
In 7 News tonight at 6, we'll bring you more on women investing in the property market.
There could soon be a new way to travel on the Swan River. A New Zealand marine tech company has announced it's bringing electric hydrofalling vessels to Perth as early as next year.
That's going to start with premium tourism, but obviously, as this develops, it can head towards more commuting options and things like that.
There's no reason we couldn't have several dozen of them operating on the Swan River. There's certainly plenty of capacity and jetty frontage. The beauty of this size vessel as well is there's really no need to upgrade any infrastructure.
The company plans to start by launching 2 vessels in Perth before potentially expanding. Princess Kate has made a rare reference to her cancer diagnosis during a visit with the Prince of Wales to London's famous Borough Market. The pair tried their hand at pouring beer and making coffee with mixed results. Europe correspondent Ben Downey reports.
Well, for everybody who's been to the UK, you can literally throw a rock and hit a pub named after something royal. The King's Arms, the Queen's Head, the Prince of this, the Royal that. But for all of that royal nomenclature, this is one of those very rare occasions where we actually have working members of the royal family behind the bar. The Prince and Princess of Wales today getting stuck into the brewing business at London's famous Borough Markets, with William loading hops into the mixture and Kate climbing the ladder, donning gloves and using a large wooden stick to stir the boil before performing that rite of passage so many Australian 20-somethings have on their working holiday, pulling a pint. After their efforts, the founder offered them some weekend shifts, judging the royal couple's pouring better than his own. Kate politely declined the work and a sip of their brew, revealing she's actually cutting back on alcohol since her cancer diagnosis. Finally, the princess was given a crash course in creating the perfect cappuccino from a barista. But when she told Prince William she'd made him a coffee, well, he knocked it back because it wasn't decaf. The barista clearly forgetting to tell Princess Kate the golden rule: always remember your partner's coffee order.
This is 7's afternoon news. Coming up, anti-Semitic attack, one of America's biggest synagogues targeted in a violent attack. Plus, NASA's plan to get back on the moon, now back on track.
Think you've got the best footy brain? Join the game tipping and prove it. Thanks to Tap Touch, the top tipper wins $50,000. That's right, 50 grand plus the ultimate bragging rights. So what are you waiting for? Sign up now at thegame.com.au.
How much is that doggy in the window?
Dr. Harry visits Idol HQ and trains up Marsha's pup.
Good boy.
And spice up your life.
You're watching 7's 4 p.m. news live from Perth right now. It's partly cloudy, 26 degrees in the city, and the full forecast is coming up soon. The US has been rocked by an attack on one of the biggest synagogues in the country. Federal investigators are probing if it was an act of terror. A driver believed to be armed with a rifle rammed a vehicle into the building while children were inside attending school. US correspondent Miley Hogan has the details.
Police say the driver rammed through the doors of the synagogue and was then speeding down a hallway. Armed guards that were already on scene managed to open fire on the suspect, who was later found dead inside the vehicle. The cause of death is not known because at some point the car erupted into flames, sparking a large fire that spread through the building. Investigators have brought in the bomb squad to determine if explosives were in the vehicle. All of the 140 children inside the school and the daycare were evacuated and are safe. The staff too. One security guard was taken to hospital but is expected to be okay. Authorities are treating this as a targeted attack but say it's too early to determine a motive.
We are leading the investigation right now as a targeted act of violence against the Jewish community. I would not be able to provide additional information at this time on the subject or his motive.
The Temple of Israel is located outside of Detroit, Michigan. The local sheriff saying since the war with Iran began, they've been coordinating with law enforcement at all levels.
We've been talking for 2 weeks about the potential, sadly, of this happening, so there was no lack of preparation.
The president commenting on the investigation.
It's a terrible thing, but it goes on. We're going to be right down to the bottom of it. It's absolutely incredible that things like this happen.
Security has been ramped up at all Jewish facilities in the area as police continue to hunt for a motive.
American authorities are investigating a fatal shooting at a Virginia university as an act of terrorism. The shooter opened fire in a classroom at Old Dominion University, killing one person and injuring 2 others. A group of students helped subdue him. Police have revealed the suspect has previously been convicted of providing material support to ISIS and allegedly tried to gather weapons for an attack in the US in 2016. Security video has captured the moment an Indian politician survives an assassination attempt at point-blank range. Former Chief Minister Farooq Abdullah was attending a wedding in India-administered Kashmir when the suspect approached and fired. The gunshot missed and the suspect was quickly apprehended. NASA's next launch to the moon is back on track. The space agency is preparing to roll the Artemis II rocket back to its launch pad at the Kennedy Space Center next week after repeated delays.
We are on track for a launch as early as April 1st, and we are working toward that date.
Artemis II is designed to send 4 astronauts on a trajectory around the moon, marking the first such human mission in more than 5 decades. Final preparations are underway in Albany for the centrepiece of the city's bicentennial celebrations. Skies along the Great Southern Coast are set to be lit by a spectacular display. Let's go live to Noel Brunning, who's in Albany. And Noel, it's the largest show of its type in the world.
Yes, Liz, and it's set to be breathtaking. It's called The Lighting of the Sound, and it's the brainchild of Finnish artist Kari Koller, who's no stranger to creating large-scale lighting installations, having designed works for Stonehenge and the Eiffel Tower. But this installation is just a little bit bigger. He's lighting up a 15-kilometre stretch of the coastline along Albany's Princess Royal Harbour. The display will feature beams of light creating an aurora-style effect which will transform the sky and the landscape along the coastline. Thousands of people are expected to travel to Albany to witness the event in a major tourism boost.
And so where's the best spot to go if we want to catch a glimpse?
And that's the great part of it. Anywhere you can see the coastline along Princess Royal Harbour will give you a front row seat to enjoy this once-in-a-lifetime lighting experience. The show starts tonight and is running Friday, Saturday and Sunday night for the next 3 weekends. Liz, the lights are turned on at 6 o'clock, just before the sun begins to set.
Looks great, Noel. Thank you. Adrian Barich joins us now, and Barra, the Eagles have pulled a selection surprise.
Hi Lizzie, yes, that is absolutely right. A veteran has been sidelined as West Coast fly to the Gold Coast to take on the Red Hot Suns. Plus, the Matildas go for a walk in Perth ahead of tonight's must-win clash with North Korea. And Adam Scott shows his best form at one of golf's most famous holes.
7 News, connecting you.
Good afternoon. Veteran star Tim Kelly's been left out of the Eagles team taking on the Suns on Sunday afternoon. The 31-year-old trained fully yesterday after overcoming a hamstring setback that saw him miss out on the pre-season clash with Port Adelaide. He's been named as an emergency alongside Finn McRae and Rhett Bazzo. And the Dockers had their last hit out before taking on the Cats in Geelong tomorrow afternoon. Dual All-Australian Luke Ryan will play for Peel Thunder in the Waffle pre-season clash with the Perth Demons in Mandurah tomorrow. But Ross Lyon has shut down questions about St Kilda's protection of star midfielder Nasiah Wanganeen-Millera, while Sunday's opponent, the Demons, have welcomed back a star of their own.
Back on deck with a point to prove. This Demon ready to wreak havoc on the Saints. Ross Lyon is locked in for this weekend too, keen to move on from their opening round loss to Collingwood.
Today's Friday, that game was Sunday. We're totally Melbourne. So I get you here, and we've scheduled it and mandated by the AFL to talk about the game. But it's relevant, I get it. So we're trying to improve our footy.
The Saints coach not buying into questions of how his star midfielder Nasiah Wanganeen-Millera will cope with more attention.
No, Naz is done. Like, we just spoke about Naz. If we want to call a press conference on Naz, we'll schedule one, right? Like, so it's about the team.
While at Geelong, Chris Scott had no questions about his side's effort in their 56-point loss to the Suns.
It makes sense to me when people see a poor performance, can't quite work out why, and arrive at it must have been an effort thing. We'd like to think we're just a fraction more sophisticated than that. I just can't remember a time at Geelong where I've come out and thought we got beaten today because we didn't try.
A boost for the Cats. Jeremy Cameron and Patrick Dangerfield will return to face the Dockers.
I was confident last week and I was wrong, but I was only relaying what had been relayed to me. It took us by surprise a bit that those guys weren't available.
Kate Massey, 7 News.
Yes, and the Sydney Swans are wary of underestimating the wounded Brisbane Lions at the SCG tomorrow night. The Swans are flying high after their dominant opening round win over Carlton. Brisbane lost their opener to the Bulldogs and head south, missing 1/4 of their premiership team.
I'm not sure it's ever a good time to get them, but I think if the same thing happened to us, you'd be encouraging the next man up.
And last night, Carlton held on to beat Richmond by 4 points. And the full house sign is likely to be out at HBF Park tonight for the Matildas clash with North Korea. The Tillies have gone through their final preparations for their quarter-final, and there's more on the line than just a spot in the semis. Win and they're into next year's World Cup. Lose and they'll have to battle it out with the other quarter-final losers for a place in Brazil. And Mercedes' George Russell is proving why he's the hot favourite to take on his first Formula One title this year. After winning in Melbourne, the Brit was fastest in first practice in China, ahead of his teammate Kimi Antonelli. Drivers are still getting used to their new cars though.
If it is giving them... Oh! Too much speed for Charles Leclerc as he heads off into the gravel.
Aussie Oscar Piastri was fourth fastest behind McLaren teammate Lando Norris. And more than 2 decades since making his name as golf's unofficial 5th major, Adam Scott came agonisingly close to acing the famous Island Green 17th at TPC Shawgrass in the Players' Championship.
Whoa! That was magnificent.
A double bogey on the last spoiled Scott's opening round, finishing even par, 5 shots off the lead. Go, Scotty. More from the Matildas at 6. Lizzie, we love the Matildas.
We do. Hopefully they play well. Thank you,
Barra.
Up next on 7's afternoon news, a zest for theft. What will happen to the woman caught repeatedly stealing lemons from her neighbour's yard? And celebrating 25 years of Crab Fest, we're live to Mandurah as the city gets set for its iconic Foreshore Festival. Turning now to the Middle East, Iran's new supreme leader has issued his first statement, although he's still not been seen, while the US is investigating what caused the crash of an Air Force jet over Iraq.
U.S. Central Command is saying the KC-135 refueling aircraft went down in friendly airspace in western Iraq, that it was not due to hostile fire or friendly fire, and rescue efforts are ongoing. All as Iran is unleashing new attacks on oil tankers, this fuel-laden ship bursting into a fireball. Part of Iran's strategy to drive up oil prices by stopping tankers from passing through the Strait of Hormuz.
They've got no Navy, they've got no Air Force, they've got no anti-air traffic, anything. They have no systems of control. We're just riding free range over that country. And now we're going to look very strongly at the Straits. The Straits are in great shape. We've knocked out all of their boats.
On Iranian state media, a presenter reading what she said was the first message from Iran's new supreme leader, Ayatollah Mojtaba Khamenei, who said the lever of closing the Strait of Hormuz must still be used. But neither his image nor his voice were broadcast. And Iran isn't only lashing out at sea. New video showing a high-rise in Dubai hit by an Iranian drone. And fires raging after an Iranian strike on a fuel depot in Bahrain. It's all leaving Iran increasingly isolated. 135 nations voted at the UN to condemn Iran for its attacks on Gulf countries and Jordan. But Iran does have one ally that has joined it in open war, the Lebanese militia Hezbollah, firing more than 100 rockets at Israel. And Israeli troops have crossed into Lebanon to battle Hezbollah. Nearly 700 people have been killed so far, according to the Lebanese government, with more than 800,000 displaced.
The global oil shock is washing up on WA's coast. Fuel fears are rippling to our local fishing harbours, with seafood operators concerned their industry, which is already under pressure, is now bracing for another big hit. Sam Haberland reports.
Good afternoon. Well, while the war in the Middle East continues to rage on, the ripple effects of the global oil crisis are now beginning to be felt here on our local waters. WA's fishing industry is a diesel-heavy operation, and they're beginning to feel the pressure. Independent fishers require fuel to get out onto the water. When fish are brought to land, they're processed and cleaned at warehouses. Then, diesel trucks transport stock across the country.
Just another huge challenge that they're going to be confronted with, and that comes through the supply chain, the consumer sort of feels a pinch at the end of the day.
This week's roundtable to discuss the management of domestic fuel predominantly covered agriculture, freight and emergency services. But some within the fishing industry say they've been sidelined.
If things continue to get banned and the commercial fishing sector, which is a food producing sector in West Australia, doesn't get supported in a time of crisis, then if it's not supported by the government, then it's going to create a huge problem for every West Australian.
It's another brutal blow. The industry still trying to manage the aftermath of the demersal fishing ban, which has tanked production levels and increased the average cost of fish.
We will keep monitoring the situation, so everyone is impacted, households are impacted. This isn't just about small businesses, it's about households, it's about mums and dads, and so we will keep monitoring the situation.
And we'll have more on this story, plus how much your Easter lunch could set you back this year as pressure piles on the fishing industry. That's all tonight at 7 News at 6.
To other news now, and 2 teenage e-bike riders have been killed in a head-on collision with a motorcycle near Brisbane. As Michael Hammond reports, police are investigating who, if anyone, was at fault.
Good afternoon. The Forensic Crash Unit is working to piece together the moments these 2 teenagers were killed here at Greenbank. Just after 9 last night, a Harley-Davidson motorcycle overtook a car along Middle Road. That's when it's ploughed into an e-bike travelling in the opposite direction without its headlights on. A 15-year-old girl and a 16-year-old boy were thrown from the e-bike. Both died at the scene. The rider of the motorcycle was taken to the PA hospital with serious injuries. Nearby residents heard the impact.
It's just an almighty thud, and then the screaming.
It's just a tragedy. It's wrecked
a few families. I feel for the poor bugger that's hit them, and I feel for the parents of both the young people that were killed.
Queensland is currently considering tougher rules for e-bikes, with age restrictions and licensing now on the table as safety concerns grow. South Australia and Western Australia already ban under 16s from riding the devices. A licensing scheme would be an Australian first. Authorities say too many riders are ignoring the rules or modifying bikes to go faster.
We'll act swiftly to ensure that we address the shortfalls that exist in the legislation as it stands right now.
Experts say these latest deaths are a stark reminder as to why a crackdown is so desperately needed.
A search is continuing near Bundaberg this afternoon for a man who fell overboard from a houseboat near the mouth of a swollen river. There's currently a big clean-up underway as residents return to their flooded homes and businesses.
Here in Bundaberg, there's a mix of raw emotions and frustration as people survey the aftermath and begin the clean-up. The costs are rising as the floodwaters recede. The Mud Army has moved in to help hundreds of businesses and homeowners who have lost so many of their belongings. The damage to 14 homes is so severe residents can't return. Among those needing to be rescued at the height of the flood emergency, a dog and his owner plucked to safety by a swiftwater rescue crew. At Burnett Heads, a major search is continuing for a man who fell from a houseboat near the river mouth overnight. Water police, marine rescue, drones and a helicopter are scanning the river, the banks and the coast.
We have grave fears for this person's life. We are searching feverishly to try and locate him.
In Chinchilla, major flooding is starting to ease, but in Longreach, the community is bracing for a wall of floodwaters on the way.
We've got boots on the ground there, door knocking and sandbagging.
Tourism operators in Bundaberg have reported losing an estimated $250,000 in income so far. The clean-up could take months, but the spirit on display from groups like the volunteer firefighters will help get the community through another tough time.
You can wait for life to give you lemons, or you can just take them. That's what one Queensland resident has decided to do, repeatedly caught stealing from her neighbour's yard. Typically, if fruit overhangs the fence onto council land, it's fair game, but on private property, it's stealing. Police say the lemon thief could even face charges if there's a complaint. Mandurah is gearing up for one of the biggest weekends on its calendar. Crabfest is back. Rebecca Petroska joins us live from the foreshore. And Beck, what can we expect this year?
Liz, it's a beautiful afternoon down on the foreshore and there's already so much going on down here with last-minute preparations now underway. Crabfest kicks off tomorrow. It's one of WA's biggest free events. There will be rides, cooking demonstrations, lots of pop-up food stalls and bars, plenty of family-friendly entertainment throughout the weekend, fireworks on the Saturday night, plus world-class performances. DJ Havana Brown and Thelma Plum will headline the weekend. Of course, come down and say hello to some familiar faces from Channel 7 and Home and Away, including James Stewart and Ada Nicodemu, who are this year's event ambassadors. More than 100,000 people made it down last year. Liz, it's expected to be bigger and better this year, with the iconic festival celebrating its 25th year. Crabfest will run on Saturday and Sunday. We hope to see you all there.
Absolutely. Thanks, Beck. Still to come, what's the most dangerous distraction for drivers? The surprise finding from a new study, plus why there's been a bumper payout to Qantas customers. See you after the break.
7 News, connecting you.
Eating, drinking and other activities are the most dangerous distractions for drivers, according to a new study. University of Canberra researchers used a driving simulator to study which distractions cause the most harm. Participants received phone calls, talked, looked at text messages and engaged in other activities. The study found manual distractions like eating and drinking actually had the worst impact on drivers' attention and ability to respond. Compensation will be paid to Qantas customers over the handling of COVID flight credits. A class action has been settled, costing the Flying Kangaroo more than $100 million.
If your Qantas flight was cancelled during COVID, you are automatically included in the class action and will be compensated for the airline's restrictive handling of refunds and credits. The 2.5-year class action has just wrapped up, Qantas agreeing to pay $105 million to customers.
This is compensation through the class action, which is in addition to the refunds that people either have now received or are entitled to get from Qantas.
It was argued Qantas should never have issued credits for flights cancelled in COVID. Instead, we should have been refunded for flights between January 2020 and November 2022.
Exact amounts people will get will depend on the registration process, because the more people that come forward, the more people share in the $105 million.
Qantas had put aside $55 million for this, but the final amount was almost double.
But in terms of how big an impact this is for Qantas, it certainly hasn't dented their profits too poorly.
The share price today pretty stable. Investors were aware of the impending hit. The airline eventually got rid of expiry dates on COVID credits, something Virgin hasn't done. About $90 million of COVID credits with that airline expires June 30.
It was a quiet end to what's been another volatile week for the local share market. Here's James Tao from ING Bank with more.
Good afternoon. The local share market wrapped up a turbulent week on a relatively steady note, with the ASX 200 finishing little changed for the day, down just 12 points or a little over 0.1%. But looking through the week, the market still lost more than 2.5% and is now down a little over 6% since the start of the Middle East conflict around 2 weeks ago. The technology and financial sectors were the key source of support today, led by gains from the big four banks, and this helped offset weaker moves across a number of mining and healthcare stocks. One of the most notable laggards today was Northern Star, which slid 18% after the gold miner flagged that it's unlikely to meet its own full-year production target set just a few months ago in January. And after touching its highest level since June of 2022 earlier this week, the Australian dollar has eased back, now buying around 70.6 US cents.
Perth 6pm News is coming up with Rick Arden and Susanna Carr. And Rick, what's on the program?
Hi Liz, tonight there are new concerns over Perth's health system. A leaked email has revealed extreme bed blocking as a family speaks out about a great-grandmother's ordeal, forced to wait for 2 days in a hospital hallway. Hear the full story at 6. Foreign fuel arrives in Fremantle, with petrol companies now under the pump, accused of unfairly putting up prices. Tonight, how petrol pain will affect WA seafood suppliers. We have a special report. Plus, Hobart hold-up, the terrifying ordeal for a Perth shopkeeper attacked after moving across the country for work. Can you believe this? Quokkas on the East Coast. How can it be so? Which state is trying to cash in on a WA icon? And demand for electric vehicles soars while drivers are making the switch en masse. We'll have all that and plenty more of today's top stories tonight in 7 News live at 6. Liz, see you then.
See you then, Rick. Thank you. Now to a heartwarming story from the US. A woman in Tennessee has gone above and beyond to help her elderly delivery driver. Brittany Smith was heartbroken when she saw 78-year-old Richard struggling to deliver her order. She discovered he'd been forced out of retirement, and so she launched a GoFundMe online to raise money for him. Since then, the love and support has poured in, with more than $500,000 raised to help Richard and his wife. We've got a warm and sunny weekend ahead, but just how hot is it going to get? I'll have your full forecast coming up next.
7 News, connecting you.
Now, Fuel Watch. Perth's petrol prices brought to you by Fuel Watch and 7 News.
Checking the weather now, we had a partly cloudy top of 26.7 degrees just before 3 o'clock this afternoon. Looking at the national forecast, Canberra and Sydney will both have a top of 25 degrees tomorrow, partly cloudy and 24 in Melbourne and a top of 29 in Adelaide. Back to Perth, a few clouds around tomorrow to start the weekend, a top of 30 degrees. Blue skies and warmer for Sunday, up to 32. And hot for the start of next week, 32 degrees again on Monday, a sunny top of 34 on Tuesday, up to 35 degrees on Wednesday. It'll be a little cooler on Thursday with a top of 32 and 31 on Friday. And the nights will be warm next week as well, with the overnight lows in the high teens or early 20s. And that's Perth's 4 p.m. news. I'm Elizabeth Creasy. Thanks for joining us this Friday afternoon. Join us for 7 News at 6 and stay with us now on 7. The Chase Australia is next.